and how we offer our EdD. And I'll explain a little bit about some of our previous students and the support that's available to you whilst you're studying with us, and how that structure of the study will look. And at the end, we'll have time for questions because I'm sure there'll be things that you want to ask as we go through. So as Amos kindly said, I'm Professor Verity Campbell. I'm a professor in early childhood education. My specialism is actually around the quality of early childhood education. And many years ago, I did travel over to Hong Kong and do some comparative work with a colleague over there. But in addition to that, I am also the director of Plymouth Institute of Education. The Institute of Education sits within the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Business, where we work very closely with our social science colleagues. The exciting thing about that is that as we progress through the doctorate, it gives us the opportunity to call on different expertise to help and inform what we're delivering to you, and to make a more bespoke experience for each of you as you progress through the doctorate. As I said, the idea of today's session is that we'll go through the Professional Doctorate in Education at HKU SPACE. We'll outline the programme structure and how the first phase is a talk phase, followed by a thesis stage. I'll talk a little bit about the programme team here at Plymouth and who will be working with you. And then we'll think about the entry requirements, the application process, and see if you have any questions for myself or Amos. So as I said, this is Plymouth. That building there's the Roland Levinsky building. I hope at some point you'll be able to come over and join us for conferences that we host here within this building. This is where the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Business is. And as I said, we are the Institute of Education sitting within the School of Society and Culture here at the University of Plymouth. Just to give you a bit of context in terms of the Institute of Education, the programmes that we offer include a BA in Education, a BA in Early Childhood Studies, a new BA Education for Sustainability that really reflects the university's core identity around the importance of sustainability within education. We also have a new fast track programme, which is a BA in Primary Education. In addition to that, we have foundation courses which really support our widening participation agendas, because we really believe that if you want to come to university, we'll find a way to facilitate that and make that happen for you. And then, as you'd expect, we have an MA in Education. We also have a post-compulsory certificate in Education, which is for people training to work in further education colleges. So we work very closely with colleges across the Southwest. Then we have the PhD, and in addition, we have the EdD that I'm talking to you about today. So in terms of why would you want to do this particular EdD with us at the University of Plymouth in conjunction with HKU SPACE, we feel that actually the Professional Doctorate offers the opportunity for students in Hong Kong and surrounding areas an opportunity to study locally, combining face-to-face delivery in Hong Kong as well as online delivery. And it's actually a very unique offer that we're offering a flying faculty model, which in the first instance will be me coming over and delivering aspects of the first module. And then there'll be online delivery as well. So you get that opportunity to have that in-person connection whilst also working online. I think the other thing that's very unique about what we offer is if you look at other EdD programmes, often what they are is a methods-based course. So it's very much about teaching you about research methods in preparation for that thesis stage. We obviously do some of that within our talk phase, but actually we also want to make sure that this is a course that's really relevant to you and your professional practice. So you will find that throughout the talk phase, what we will be doing is working with you to develop your interests, to explore the things that are really relevant to you and your practice, so that you can further improve upon your professionalism. The programme's studied part-time, which means that we structure it so it will fit around busy lives, and so you'll be able to maintain your professional practice. It meets the standards that we expect here in the UK, and as part of that, you can see there that we have to have annual external examiner reviews, and they check on the quality of the work that we're doing. Something that we have is a constant praise from our external examiners about the high quality of what we do, but also the kind of personalised nature of that, in terms of the support that we offer you, but also the opportunities that you have for developing the things that you are most interested in. So it doesn't matter what your professional background is, we find ways in which we can tailor the course so that you explore your particular interests. And as part of that, it means that we've got a really wide academic team. And what I do is I try and adjust the team that are delivering modules based around the things that you are interested in. So if you're interested in language education, I'll bring in my colleague, Dr. John Merrison. If you're interested in how we teach the skills of academic writing, for example, I'll bring in my colleague, Alicia. So there are a number of people that we can draw upon. And as I say, the advantage we have being within the School of Society and Culture and sitting within the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Business is that we can really start to tailor that support even further, should we need to. There will be opportunities for you to visit Plymouth, as I have mentioned. We hold a conference every year for our doctoral students, and it's a chance for you to come in person and present at symposium, or we can facilitate online attendance. We know it's not always easy to be able to have opportunities for travel, but it's really what we want to do is provide you with an experience that is personalised to you, befits your professional context, and offers real career advancement for you. And as I say, it means that you'll have in-person delivery, online delivery, but you will always have that local point of contact in Hong Kong as well. Now, for me as the director of Plymouth Institute of Education, the thing that's really important is that for me, you're not just coming to study your doctorate, you're actually joining an education community. And that's really important to me, that actually, whilst there will be the people that are studying your EdD together, you will be put in contact with our EdD students here based in Plymouth. That will be people at different stages of the EdD, so that you've got a community around you to talk to them. What's it like when you get to that thesis stage, for example? Those moments where you think, goodness me, why on earth am I doing this? That you've got a community around you that can support you. But actually part of that education community is that you'll be invited to online research seminars that we hold on a regular basis, which means you'll have opportunities to interact with educators that are here local to Plymouth. So there's going to be some really interesting opportunities for exchanging ideas between different countries. But also that education community reflects that relevance to practice that we have very much in the EdD. So I often think about our work within the university as being like a beating heart. So yes, we're here within the university, but it beats out into that education community, whereby we always make sure that the work that we are doing is relevant to what's going on in that local education community, but also that global education community. So if you sign up, it's a bit like signing up for a really big extended family, where once you're a part of the family, then that's it. You're with us for the duration. And even once you graduate, there are opportunities for you to become part of our alumni system that we have, to take on visiting fellowships, to do postdocs, and so forth. So this is more than just the EdD that we are offering to you today. The Professional Doctorate in Education is a doctoral level programme for anybody in an education role with a professional discipline. Now, the nature of the profession is really broad. So in terms of the kinds of people that I've seen come and study the EdD here at Plymouth, we've had college lecturers, we've had people working within the university itself. For example, we have colleagues in nursing who have had really rich careers as nurses, come and start supporting our degrees that we offer in nursing, and want to get their doctorate at the same time. So we can tailor the course so that they can still maintain their interest in nursing, but it becomes about the teaching and the learning and the pedagogy of their professional practice. We obviously get a lot of teachers who come and join the course. And those can be teachers, anything from early years education. It might be specialist areas such as Montessori education. And obviously we see a lot of primary and secondary school teachers as well. And also an awful lot of people working in the area of special educational needs. The other thing we also see is that it's often students that are working maybe within a college or a university, and their role isn't directly with students. It isn't directly about providing lectures, for example, but actually they're part of the wider support service that such institutions have. So, for example, we've had colleagues that provide the English language support for international students come and do their EdD with us. We have people that are out in our partner colleges who provide support services and want to kind of further develop their professional practice, and they come and study the EdD with us. And in terms of that professional practice, what we really encourage you to do throughout the course is to really think about your own working context so that you can take what you're studying back into your professional context to really help with your own professional practice and the development of your professional role. So it's really an opportunity for you to understand the nature of your professional work and its influence on practice. And I think one of the pleasures for me delivering our EdD is because we end up with such a diversity of people, it's the opportunities to learn from each other as well in terms of your different educational experiences. You know, for me as an early childhood expert, seeing someone who works in a kindergarten or a nursery, having a discussion with a head teacher of our local grammar school here at Plymouth about what good pedagogy looks like, it's just wonderful. It just offers such a rich experience for everybody in the room. So in terms of our delivery method, you will find there's a lot of you in the delivery. There's a lot of opportunities for you to discuss what the content means for your own professional practice. And it's a safe space. It's where you can raise questions. You can say, I don't know how I feel about this. And that will stimulate the discussion. So as I've been outlining, in terms of the EdD programme, how it works, it's part-time. And what you find is that in the first 2 years, we have what's called the taught phase. So this is the unique flying faculty model that we're going to have for you guys, whereby we will come out at the beginning of the modules to introduce the topics to you, and then move to an online delivery where you will have regular sessions in the evenings and on weekends. And you can see here that in terms of that taught content, the first module that you've got there is around evidence and education policy. So we look to kind of develop the context and understand the context that we're working in and what is shaping that. The second module is then focused on your professional learning. We have a wonderful colleague, Dr. Jim Horden, who leads on that module, and he is very interested in professional identity and professional learning. So there's real opportunities for you there to think about your professional self. Then in year 2, we move on to thinking about research and thinking about how we research our own practice and what social research looks like. And then you move on to the thesis stage. And as part of that, you will write a research proposal. And then you'll also do a viva voce. So I often refer to this as the little viva. It's preparation for what will come at the end of the thesis stage. So it's an opportunity for you to sit in a room with an expert commentator who will have read your work, and they will ask you questions about it. And that really gives you a strong foundation then to go on to phase 2, which is the thesis stage, whereby this is where you do your own research and undertake a small research study that forms a 50,000 word thesis and then has that viva at the end. But hopefully what you can see is that the first phase, that taught phase, we are working with you really closely to provide the foundations for you to go on to that second phase. So in those taught modules that we have, there is the opportunity for you to pick the thing that is of interest to you. So that's where I'm saying it's about your professional practice, and that you will research in terms of desk-based research, literature-based research, your particular topic, and write your assignments in those areas so that it has direct relevance for your professionalism and for the careers that you have at the moment. But it's a supportive environment where I think of that first phase as almost being like a series of stepping stones that we will take you through, so that when you've got to the thesis stage, you've got real confidence in being able to undertake your research and refine your specialism that you've got. As we've said, the way in which we're delivering phase one is going to be via flying faculty, excuse me. So that will be a weekend in early February when we will come together in person and deliver some content, get to know each other as well as a group. And then the remaining sessions will be delivered virtually in Hong Kong in evenings and weekends. So very much like we are now here on Zoom. All assignments are submitted online. You will find that for each phase of the degree and for each of the modules that you do, you will have an online learning classroom where we will provide resources. There are spaces where you've got kind of rooms where you can chat to each other there. But it's also the opportunity that when somebody says, oh, I read this, it was really interesting, we can put it up there, we can share it with people. It's where we can provide any information that's relevant to the course as well. And as I said earlier, you'll be invited to presentations that we have online. Often the timings of those, I think, will work quite nicely for yourselves, that it will be in your evenings, and that will give you an opportunity to meet with other doctoral students as well, and to hear about the other work that people are doing as well. So a really important part of the EdD is that you use it as an opportunity to build your own academic community, the people that are interested in the same topics as you, so that you collaborate with each other in terms of exchange of ideas. But I can promise you, these will be the people that you then go on to do research projects with in the future, to write papers with, to travel to conferences with. So you're building up your own academic community, and we'll support you with that. In terms of the second phase, so this is where you're undertaking your own thesis, your own piece of research, you'll be allocated a director of studies. This person is like your best friend when it comes to your studies. They are the person that will support you through that research stage and get you to that point of being in a room having your viva. You will meet regularly on Zoom. So the way in which I work with my students is that in that first meeting, we get a whole load of dates in the diary so that they are there, and we know we've got those regular points of contact. There's also a second supervisor who might not come to every single meeting, but will act as like a critical friend to come in and talk to you about your research topic and help ask questions. As part of that stage, as I say, joining that community, it becomes really important in that research stage. One of the challenges can be when you're doing your own research is that it can be a bit lonely, it can be a bit isolating, but you will have your community around you. So that will be your fellow EdD students, but that wider community that I was talking about here at the Institute of Education, whereby you get invited to attend symposiums and conferences and so forth. And as I say, opportunities for those to be both in person and on Zoom as well. And you'll meet with academic staff through that phase one, and there'll be opportunities to make sure that in terms of that director of studies, it will obviously be someone who is the right person to support your piece of work. So they will have the expertise that you require to kind of guide you through that research phase. And those expertise can be both around the subject as well as the methodology, but it will also be someone that, you know, we feel that you can get on with and work really closely with, because as I say, this is someone that you need to get on really well with, because they're going to be there supporting you for a good period of time. There are also a range of resources that you will have access to. So the nature of the world now is that although we do have a library here at the University of Plymouth, on the whole, I don't think students go to it that often, because actually they can just access everything from the comfort of their own bedrooms whilst they're at home studying. So we have a very extensive range of e-resources. So you'll have access to our library and all of our journals that we have there, the ebooks that we offer, but also, as I say, the digital learning environment. And I think as part of that, it's really important to remember that you're not just accessing the services that the library offers in terms of books and journals, for example. We also have support for developing your academic writing. I know sometimes you'll have a master's and all of those things, but you might think it's been a few years since I had to sit down and write an essay. Well, we've got a team of people that can work with you to offer advice and guidance on that. But there's also a whole host of other kind of services that are offered by the university to help you with developing your professional self as much as your academic skills as well. So, for example, we can have input from our subject librarians around how to get the most out of those e-resources, to think about how you might develop your writing, as I said before. We also have our doctoral college. So as an EdD student, you will fall under the doctoral college. In part, that's the kind of rules and regulations that we have there. But actually, it gives you access to another range of resources that they offer. So they offer a kind of training package for doctoral students and doing their research. So some of it might be around using NVivo for qualitative data analysis, for example. Other things will be around ethics and offering guidance on that. There's also sessions around preparing for the Viva as well. So there's a lot in addition to what the course offers that is there for you, including our international student support and the resources they have. I think these days, when there's so much available online, you can almost get lost searching in the library, I think, these days. It's very different to when I was studying, and I used to have to sit on the floor of the library and go through little cards to find resources. But obviously, there's a huge advantage to everything being available to us online. I thought I'd give you a couple of examples of people that have successfully completed the EdD here at the University of Plymouth. First, you have Dr. Louise Webber. Louise was actually one of my students. She was teaching in a college when she was doing her EdD, so in further education. And she was interested in the experiences of her students juggling coming back to college when you've got your own family, and what that looks like when you've got to be writing essays at the same time as cooking tea for the children and all of those things. Louise was an absolute pleasure to support. She used the work of Bourdieu to develop her understanding of what this looked like, and she came up with and developed the idea of family capital. That actually, the thing that was really supporting, and it was primarily mothers that she was looking at, the thing that supported these mothers in their studies was their children. And there were just lovely examples of mothers doing homework alongside teenagers, to kind of support each other through that studying experience. Louise was so wonderful. I now employ her, and she actually heads up my early childhood studies programme here at the University of Plymouth. But she's a really good example of someone who juggled her own family life along with working full time and studying, and just kept going, got herself a rhythm going, and obviously has succeeded really well, and now is one of my most prolific publishers in terms of producing her own research outputs. The other person I thought I'd give you as an example is Martin. So Martin has had a very varied education career, working in a whole range of education establishments for children of all different ages, so primary and secondary. But one of the things for him is that often he's been in educational institutions that aren't the norm here in the UK. So he's worked in Steiner education, for example. And he's a really good example of somebody who was able to use the doctorate to really develop and refine his professional practice and elevate his career in the direction that he wanted to go. For both of these students, if you go to the University of Plymouth web pages, you can read more about their stories and also read more about other doctoral students that have completed with us. But just a couple of other examples of titles that we've had when people have reached that thesis stage. You can see my colleague Vicky. She used diffractive activity to look at parental choice of pre-compulsory education. That was the thing that she was really interested in, is how do people make the decisions around how we want to educate our very youngest students. And Vicky is now Associate Dean for Teaching and Learning within our faculty. You then have Pollyanna, and she was looking at internationalization in terms of global pedagogies. You have Sam. Sam's a really good example of being part of the education family that I talked about here at the Institute of Education. So his mother was one of my students, did her degree and her master's with us. And then she didn't want to go on to do a doctorate, but she roped her son into doing it instead. So he came and studied with us. And he was looking at assessment and what assessment looks like within a multi-academy trust. So that's a collection of schools that we would have here in the UK. You can then see Louise's title as well, and that focus on family capital. And then also Karen, who looked at children's transition to school. Hopefully what you can start to see with the titles that we've got here is that combination of theory and practice that you will develop in those first 2 years. I think it's really important to stress that in terms of that theoretical focus, we draw heavily on sociological perspectives. And something that when we come to talk about the application process, that's something we can discuss at interview in terms of who are the people that you've been interested in your own work so far. Hopefully what those titles also demonstrate is the huge variation that we have in terms of topics that people cover, and the way in which it's your opportunity then to develop your doctorate that's going to be right for you. We have some examples here of research topics and possible readings that people might like to look at as well. So it might be that you're interested in teaching effectiveness, teaching engineering, or, we could replace engineering with health, as I said. We have that certainly within the University of Plymouth. Social work is another area that we've had here at the University of Plymouth. It might be that you're interested in higher education administration. I think that speaks to the students that we've had that aren't part of my lecturing team, for example, but are part of the support services that are offered within our higher education institution. We also have an awful lot of people looking at education policy. One of my colleagues it's just a dream to work with in terms of what he knows around education policy and the work that he does across Europe in that particular area. So that's Dr. Pete Kelly. But here you've got some other examples of the kinds of things that you might look at around higher education policy. And you can see that that might be in regards to early childhood education, higher education, or any other stage of education. It might be that you're interested in assessment, as Sam was with his particular project, and that's something that you can look at. And my colleague, Dr. Nick Pratt, is a real expert in terms of methods of assessment and thinking about those. Or it could be that you're interested in educational leadership. That's actually been one of my areas in terms of what does a good quality leader look like in an early childhood education context. And again, you can see some example resources. So this is an overview of how the fees work against those different phases. Amos, again, I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to come and add in here.
Can I chip in? Actually, I want to emphasize something that I think many of you or many people want to understand the difference between a PhD and also a professional doctorate. Actually, a professional doctorate starts with your taught classes to equip you with more knowledge about the background and the current trend and also the research edge currently in a certain subject or discipline. For example, in here is the education. But for a PhD, actually, you will start with a research proposal. Before you apply, actually, you need to draw up your proposal and also look up all the literature and prepare something that is realistic to convince the school and also your potential supervisor that you are capable to finish this research. So you must have a lot of evidence to support your research ability. But for a professional doctorate, actually, it is a process that gradually develop and help you to develop to be a scholar to do the independent research by yourself. Therefore, we have the top stages. Actually, the reason for those top stages is to give you the idea about what is the leading trend in education, what is the current policy, and what are the problems. And also, we have sections to help you. We have modules to help you to prepare for your proposal, and we will guide you actually what is the requirement for the proposal and what problems or what difficulties you will encounter in implementing the real research in the thesis stage. That is very important because why I am emphasizing on these things is because on phase 2, as you can see here, thesis stage, we have around 24 to 36 months for you to complete it. How long you will complete it depends on how you structure your research, how big it is, what is the topic, whether you can do it within the time frame you set. This is a process that you need to discuss with your potential supervisor. And the potential supervisor matching process starts in the third stage when you meet different academic staff from U of P, and you will start developing your research idea, and then you will go to different professors and also assistant and associate professor, and they will guide you some direction. Probably they will also show you who could be the one to help you to supervise your research project. So that's why the third stage is very important for a professional doctorate studies. And therefore, once you has established a good foundation and also a realistic research proposal in the phase 1, then you go to phase 2 and you have a very highly likely chance to finish your research project on time or even earlier. And that's why you can see we have different years of graduation. And one more important note I want to share with you. I know people want to finish their doctorate degree as soon as possible. And sometimes people will ask me, well, can I finish the phase 1, the top stage, within 1 year? Well, I'm actually also a professional doctorate, but my discipline is in applied linguistics. But my experience told me that actually, if you really want to dig deep into that discipline, sometimes it's your capacity as a part-time student and also a full-time worker. You need to pick the balance. You also have a family, so I don't recommend people to finish their top stage within 1 year. Actually, well, I would say it's more or less quite difficult for people to arrange their time. Therefore, it's easier to spread it out into 2 years so that you will have a good quality output, and also you have more chances to meet more people and start think about your thesis stage. Verity?
Thank you. And I think that's really important that those first 2 years, they're actually, from my perspective, they're a bit of a luxury that you've got that time to be able to really think about a topic that you're interested in. We all know from our professional contexts that it's not often that somebody invites us to just be with a subject and to really enjoy it. But as Amos has said, it does really provide that foundation then for the thesis stage. And that taught stage, as I said, is those stepping stones to help prepare you so that you'll be able to go on and undertake that thesis and be confident. And I, when I've been teaching on the final module as part of the taught stage, which is those research methods one, I often do a session around, you've got to be like Goldilocks. You don't want your project to be too big. You don't want it to be too small. We need to get it just right. But those first 2 years will really help you in developing that and refining what you want to look at. So in terms of the application process, you can see we've got it outlined there. So we'll be asking you for a personal statement as to why you want to undertake the professional doctorate. And we'd like to find out a bit about you and your research idea. I'm not expecting you to have a perfectly crafted idea, but what I want to make sure is that this is the right doctorate for you and that we've got the we will be able to cover topics that are going to be of interest to you. So that's good for us to start thinking about those ideas right from the outset. We'd like an up-to-date CV. You'll need to provide your qualification certificates as well. You can see there that we'll need a lingo skills test or an equivalent in terms of demonstrating your ability to write in English. And an example of that written work. And our suggestion here is that this could be something from your previous studies, so your level 7 studies. We need to see, not a huge piece of work, but enough for us to get a sense of what your written English is like. So it might be an essay from a master's of no less than 2,000 words. So hopefully people have got something there that they can provide. And it should be something that you've sole authored as well, which is why we're saying it might be from your master's, and you can discuss with Amos around that if you need an alternative. And then there will be references as well and an application fee. And what I've done is I've made sure I've blocked out time in the week beginning the 16th of December to do interviews with you to have, and it's very informal. It's a conversation to find out more about you and what you're interested in, and to then give you the opportunity to ask questions as well. Amos, again, did you want to add anything in there?
Thank you. Yes, I want to mention about the application fee. Actually, $200 is a very little money for now in Hong Kong, but you will get something extra, more than 200. Actually, why we are staying out the Hong Kong USpace language skill. Actually, it's the Cambridge language skill, which is a UK computerized adaptive test of your English proficiency, which is also Hong Kong USpace is one of the exam center here. And we will provide you if you don't have the IELTS certificate, and it will take you a lot of time to prepare for the IELTS and also get the IELTS and get 6.5. So it's easier for you alternative. As an alternative, you can come to our center in Hong Kong USpace and take the Cambridge language skill test. And if you and our standard expected standard is 176, which is around, if we talk about English language proficiency, which is around CFR B2 plus at the bottom of the C1 level. So you should be a advanced user of English. So it will give you a quicker time to get the result, and you don't need to go through those tedious process and tiring process to prepare for your IELTS exam. And that's why I would say this $200 is quite cheap in the whole process. And also we will send the data, send your test result directly to the admission teams in the UK. So you don't need to pass it to them indirectly or in person. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. So here again, this is for Amos maybe to speak to this slide if you wanted to say anything else there, or do you feel you've covered that?
Okay. Well, after today's talk, I will send out the application form for you to all of you. And we Hong Kong USpace, we are still working on the program page, and our colleagues are very good in doing this. And I hope that we'll have this page available online early next week. So if you have any questions about the application process, and if you want to talk about your research idea and also to arrange the Cambridge language skill test, you're very welcome to contact me by email, or you can just call us. Actually, I will leave you a number so that you can call us, and we can talk about your application, your ideas, and your concerns through online meetings. or I can meet you in Hong Kong at one of our centers to answer your questions and relay those questions to UK Verity if needed.
Yes, lovely. Thank you. So really this is a chance to kind of open it up now for questions. I realise I've kind of given you a lot of information there. There's a QR code that people might want to scan there, and I'll just click on to the next one. I think that's where the web page will be coming up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop sharing screen so that we can all see each other,
Yeah.
and then also see if anybody has got any questions that they might have in regards to what I've just provided.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, Verity. I'm
Hello.
Alex Kwan. Yeah, I'm a lecturer at the Engineering and Technology Division. Yeah, I'm very interested in this program, and I just want to ask you a couple of questions about the documents required for the application. I noticed that we need to prepare a research idea or maybe a topic, yeah, for you to consider. So when we propose this idea or topics, can we propose more than one? Because maybe I have a couple of ideas, but I don't know which one is better or possible or feasible. So can we do that, or should we just stick to one only?
I'm going to assume that they probably relate to each other in some way. So it might be that you kind of talk about it broadly, that, you know, I'm interested in this particular area and I think my research topic could go in one of several directions, and to approach it from that perspective. Really finding out about your research project is about me from day one wanting to make sure that I can build a team around you that is going to be able to support you in taking your ideas forward. So you saying that you're interested in engineering, straight away in my head I'm going, okay, I'm going to have a chat with colleagues in our other faculty around engineering, because they might be able to come in as a second supervisor. So as I said, you don't need a perfectly formed idea, but what we do need to see is that you've got that interest in research, you've got something that you're wanting to explore, because it's that we'll use as the foundation in those first 2 years, so that by the end of those 2 years you will have made your decision about which of those 3 different areas you want to explore. So hopefully that makes sense, to kind of talk about them thematically rather than specifically, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
If
Another thing
I'm
is about the references from current and past employers. I have joined Hong Kong U SPACE for a long time, so I really can't connect with my past employers anymore. So is it okay if I just have the current employers' references?
Yes, I mean, I think with references, the same as when people are applying for jobs, we understand if you've been at one place for a very long time, then it's likely it will be 2 from that particular employer. So yeah, it's really important to stress that in terms of the application process, this isn't like a test where we're trying to trip you up in some way. It really is about us getting to know you so that we can start to develop the course to speak to you as an individual. So yes, I'm sure we can provide some flexibility there.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes. So I noticed that you will be arranging interview with us on the week of 16th of December, right? So does it mean that we need to supply all these documents before then?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So yes,
to...
we'll need to see the documents, because then I'll look at those in preparation for having that conversation with you. If there were anything where perhaps we needed a bit more clarity or something like that, then I would raise that with you, and you could always provide things afterwards.
I see. Okay. Does that include the linguistic test as well that Amos has just mentioned? Do we have to do that before the interview?
Yes, Amos, did you want to come in?
that will be great. I think the test itself is lasts for 3 hours, and I will say it is not that difficult indeed. But it's a computerized test, and it's from Cambridge, so it will give us a good reference of your English proficiency. Because nowadays fake document is very easy to get in some places. Therefore, attending the test in our center will give us a very good idea about your current English proficiency level.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
Okay. One of the things I want to add in to answer the question about the research idea. To be honest, as far as I understand, the point to get your research idea is to understand whether you have a very clear idea about how to structure your report or your research. And the most important thing is to check whether you will have the right suitable partner and supervisor to go through your research in the UFP. But as far as I discussed it with Verity before, I know actually we can have co-supervisor system, and also we can invite supervisor from other university as a co-supervisor. So actually the scope of your research is quite wide. It's not that narrow into one discipline, but you can employ your ideas into the practical side and also in the theoretical side. Of course, I know if we are talking about teaching nuclear engineering, then probably it is quite far from the reach of our knowledge. But I would say most of the time, if we employ other university professors and as a co-supervisor, well, actually you will find your supervisor with no difficulties. Am I right, Verity?
Yes, yeah. So I think, as I was saying, within the faculty, we've got so much expertise that I feel confident we can find people within faculty, but actually across the university. If you suddenly said you were really interested in marine engineering, no problem, I'll go and talk to my colleagues in marine engineering. So we have that available to us. If somebody had something that was so very, very specialist that we felt we needed to go outside the university, then we could do that. But I'm confident that at the University of Plymouth, we have such a range of expertise that we'll be able to find the right supervisory team for you. So, the important thing in terms of developing that research idea is that it's got to be something that's going to keep you going for the next 4 to 5 years. Okay, so something that's really of interest to you. We will then hold your hand in developing that idea so that when you reach that research stage, you're ready to undertake your project. So it's structured in a way that, as I say, it's a series of stepping stones to that research that will be the thing that's brought you here today. You will have something in your head about you. I call it the itch, the thing that you really want to look at. That's what we want to find out about, and then we can start to build that into the course delivery as well.
And you can always change your research idea during the study when you get more idea about the current trend and all this knowledge, and when you meet more new people and your potential supervisor, you might have better ideas and on your research, so you can always adjust your direction. Don't worry.
And I think, that's part of the journey that you'll go on, is developing your ideas. We sometimes have people and they're really interested in the work of Bernstein, and then through the interactions they have, they find out about the work of Foucault and Bourdieu and others, and suddenly before you know, they've gone down a different path. But that's part of the journey, and as I say, we hold your hand on that. We support you in every step that you take.
Okay, that's very, very comforting to hear. Thank you.
Any other questions at all that anyone's got?
Hi, Verity, it's Henry here.
Hi, Henry.
Hi there. I'm just wondering, looking down the future, the Viva Voce, would that take place in the UK, in the University of Plymouth, or would be in Hong Kong?
We have flexibility. Quite often these days they happen online. So the last few examinations that I've done, we've done them online. But yes, there would be the opportunity that we could arrange for it to happen locally in Hong Kong, or for you to come to Plymouth. Often it depends on who your examiner is. So if there's a local expert in Hong Kong and you think that's absolutely the person I want to read my work, then you would work with your supervisory team to get that person on board. So yeah, we have flexibility in how we can arrange that. I think one of the challenges is often the time and finding a time when everybody can get together, which is why we see them happen online so often now. But yeah, we would work with you to get the right examination team and the right environment for that examination.
Okay, and back to the kind of thesis, what we're going to. I guess it's quite, for me, but it's quite difficult to plan. I know I've got a theory because I teach academic English. Mm-hmm. I've got something in mind. I guess you just want to kind of a pencil in and what my interests are, right? Is that a feeling I'm getting from you? What
Yeah.
specialized areas are? Because I've got lots of directions, but in kind of no focal point at the moment.
No, and that again, that's what the talk phase is about, is to help you with finding that focus. So it's the subject area that you're interested in, how it's going to relate to your professional practice, and maybe a few suggestions of the kinds of things you might like to do in terms of data collection, to give me a sense of, you're a qualitative researcher or you're a quantitative. As I say, you're choosing us, but I want to make sure that in choosing us, I've got the right team available to support you on that journey. So it's almost like starting a conversation, really.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. And
Lovely, thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions?
Professor,
Hi.
can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
Thank you for giving us such an informative information section today to let us know a bit more about your EdD program. So I have actually two questions. I myself am a college lecturer working at a community college, part of the Hong Kong SPACE family. So my first question is about the topic. So I am sort of interested in doing something called grid linguistics, and it's related to SLA, and I'm thinking of doing like a focus on developing students' speaking proficiency, because I have taken a look at the information given to me from Amos the other day, and I have the feeling that most of the talk courses are more about policy and learning, and not much about SLA. So I'm not sure whether if I want to do like a topic on SLA related to the social construct grid coined by the professor and Angela Duckworth from the US will be like a suitable topic here.
Yes, so I think although, for example, the first module does have that policy focus, you will still explore the module and the topic in regards to the area that's of interest to you. So it might be in terms of that policy that it's almost, what are the policies at the college level in terms of linguistic development, for example, or the things that might be influencing that on a kind of broader scale. So you will find that throughout every single module in that talk phase, we will always be asking you to bring it back to your topic and your professional practice. So I would use the expression, it's policy with a capital P and a little p as well. So it's in the broadest sense.
Okay. So it's more about like me finding the connection between the talk module that we're going to study with the specific topic that I have in my hands, right?
Yes. So for every assignment that you do, you will pick the title, because if I pick the title, it'll be about early childhood education, and that won't be of much help to your professional practice, I suspect. So you would work with the tutors on the module to pick your title and refine that. And as part of that, in terms of working on the assignment, again, we'll have input throughout the modules to help you with developing your ideas, but you will also get tutorial support so that the setting of that title will be right for you to meet the requirements of the module and to be of doctoral level as well.
So does that mean like even though we seems to be studying something related to policy or learning, but at the end of the day, that the sort of assignments that we need to do will be sort of related to our sort of specific topic that we want to do, like for the thesis stage, right? I have another question. So it's about research methods. So I did my master degree like long time ago. I think it's been 6 to 7 years ago, and I did learn some research methods back then during my MA. So, but I have forgotten all of the knowledge about the skills and all that. So I'm just thinking, like, will there be enough sort of a research methods component within the top phase, then I will get informed about how to do research technically. I'm just a little bit worried about me more like a person having zero, because it's been just a couple of years already. So I'm just more like a person having zero technical knowledge about how to do like a research studies. So
Don't worry
will
about
that
that.
be enough information or learning or training to be given to me like during the top phase?
Yes, there will be. So don't worry. I'm not expecting anybody to be an expert researcher on day one of the doctorate. The final module is very much about developing your research skills. We will do a little bit of back to basics in terms of kind of standard methodologies, but also we'll throw new things at you. So, you know, as someone who's an early childhood researcher, I'm really interested in creative approaches. If you go to Louise, who I was talking about earlier, she took methods that were traditionally used with young children, but got adults to engage with them instead. So we'll really open your mind in terms of different methodological approaches that you want to take. But as I say, the role of that module is making sure that you then have something that is just right to be able to put into that research proposal. So yes, you will absolutely get that support, but in addition, you will be able to attend sessions with the doctoral college if you wanted to get some additional input, or as I say, you'll be able to come to online seminars and hear how other doctoral students have undertaken their research and develop your ideas that way. So yeah, you will have so much support that you don't need to worry about being an expert in methods from day one.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah,
On top
that's
of
very helpful.
on top of what Verity just mentioned, I also want to share my own experience. Indeed, actually, studying for a doctorate degree is more or less a process to what we call stand on the shoulder of the giant. You don't need to know all mathematical concept and research concept, but somehow through the literature review process, you will explore and also learn how other people do the research in your areas. So actually, you are more or less adapting other people's rigid, proven method to find out your research areas and develop your new ideas. That's why I would say you don't need to attend a statistic degree to just finish a doctorate EdD, but throughout the process, you will have enough materials to help you to finish your research project. Am I right, Verity?
Yes, definitely. And it also goes back to what you can access through the university. So in terms of the university library, you'll be able to access and see examples of other studies. And often students find something that they're like, actually, that's really interesting. I could see how I could apply that in my own context. And that's the thing that kind of gives them the spark then to design their study. But yeah, I kind of, when I've taught on that final module, I always say to the students, I need to get you through this module, but I also need to make sure that you're ready to go for that thesis. So we're there to provide that support. So I see we have one more minute before we were going to
Thank you so
conclude
very
this.
much, Professor and Dr. Amos.
Apologies, I missed that. Does that?
Well, thank you, Eric. So do we have more questions from all participants? Well, it's 9 o'clock now. So because Verity is very busy, so I would like to thank everyone. And please remember, you're always welcome to contact me, and I will relay your questions to Verity and other colleagues in the UFP to help you to identify your role in the EdD. And please do not worry about the process itself, because more or less, as we all know, doctorate degree is a process to prove you're an independent qualified researcher, and we are all guiding you to the end of the doctorate award. So thank you, Verity, and thank you all for coming to this talk, and I would like to see you in the future. So thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.